Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 86 of the Railcraft server Let's Play. And this is the first video recorded in my new apartment. So, as you can see, we have a few things going on here. I have switched the tanks here to pressurized tanks from advanced rocketry, and there are two reasons for that. One is that they store 64 milli or 64 buckets per block, which is quite high, but they are pressurized tanks and they are made out of titanium. Which I have thanks to Ashley, who sent me a block of rutile ore so that I could put it into a scanner module and scan for it. And I've mined some titanium. There's some molten titanium in this little tank down here, which hasn't been upgraded yet. They also stack. They work sort of like Railcraft tanks, except they have an interface, and which means that I can store more than 64 buckets in a single one of these modules. I've started setting up another one over here, because I'm going to need to fit tin and some other fluids into this. I'll probably need to add more modules, actually, which I'm kind of running into a bit of a space problem, which is not ideal. And I can't expand anymore in this direction because that is the edge of the mountain, and I'm kind of regretting not putting this deeper, kind of under the ground level so that I could expand outwards, or maybe putting it closer to the middle of the mountain. However, what I can do if I need to add another module is put it over here, but shift it up so it's above all of this stuff. That should work. As you can see, I've moved this rolling machine here from advanced rocketry. It requires water, which we still need to do. I've been supplying it manually for now, of course. And the reason I moved it is because I needed to make the pressurized tanks. They require these super high pressure tanks, which are made from titanium sheets in the rolling machine. And the titanium sheets are, of course, made from titanium plates, also in the rolling machine. So I smelt the rutile ore into liquid titanium, and then I cast that into plates, put the plates through the rolling machine to turn into sheets, then put 2 sheets back into the rolling machine to get a super high pressure tank. And then I need 6 of those to make pressurized tank. So each pressurized tank costs 12 titanium ingots or plates. So that's pretty lovely. Now, I was going to replace this, as I mentioned a few episodes ago. I was working on replacing this tank system with one that used a robot and some fluid cells to store fluids in cells in storage drawers instead. I was on the way of getting that working, but then I realized that since I had access to titanium, which I hadn't actually taken that bit of rutile out of the letter yet, so I hadn't gotten any, but I realized that I could get titanium. Probably changing to these tanks to help with, because the main issue with the system was the limited capacity of the tanks, and refilling them. So upgrading the tanks kind of solves that whole thing. So yeah, I'd started working on updating the program to one that consisted of a client and a server, so that you could have the client on the robot and you could send the server program basically ran here, would send requests to the robot when it needed to get a material, so that it would retrieve it from the correct drawer. And it was a bit of an ordeal. I also found a fluid duplication bug in the interaction between Open Computers and Industrial Craft 2, where the super special case that is the IC2 fluid cells meant that when a robot used a cell to place fluid, it didn't update the item. So you had a full cell, you could place a bucket of fluid out of the cell, or part of a bucket, I suppose, into a tank or into the world, but you would keep the full cell because it couldn't update the cell to empty it. So basically you got free fluid that way. That has now been fixed in the new version that was released, which I haven't updated the server to quite yet, but I will by the time this video comes out. So if you're on the server and you happen to watch this, you cannot use robots to cheat in fluids anymore, which is why I mention it. Thanks to Panel for fixing that bug, which I guess it's hard to say whose fault it is, because it's kind of, I mean, I guess it's really Industrial Craft 2's fault for having such special handling for its fluid cells that the fake player used by the robots was insufficient for. So that's how special it is. It works for other things, other interactions that a player can do, but not that. But now it does. Pretty sure Panel had to put in a bunch of special handling to account for that. I think it was a bit more generic than that. It would improve interactions in general, but nothing else was having that issue, at least not as far as I know. So yeah, but it's good now, I assume. I haven't actually tested the update yet. Here are some things. You can see that I've put up the ore samples. I've started putting signs underneath them with the names. Kind of annoying that I can't I want to center the text in the middle, but you can't really do that. At least not as far as I know. Can you? Yeah, do you have different lines? Pick the one in the middle and then try to center the text as much as I could. You can, of course, change the scale a bit. Doesn't quite center, which is annoying. You can see that. I think it's, well, actually, I guess it looks slightly off, slightly too far to the right. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Anyway, maybe I should just use vanilla signs. They're not as fancy though. Yeah, and of course this text, because there are 4 rows, text doesn't center vertically, but it's perfectly centered horizontally though. But yeah, not a huge fan of these. So I'll probably make more fancy signs at some point. So we have iron, we have copper, tin, gold, lead, uranium, redstone. Oh, more uranium. I'll just take that. Put something else there. Silver. I don't think I have. No, I have silver. Dang it. Peridot. I'm going to put that somewhere else. We have zinc, alumina, amber. Put that with the all the other gems. Probably in this room over here, perhaps. So yeah, I unfortunately don't have a metal to put in this hole. I guess lapis should go with the gems as well. So let's collect that again. We'll go with those. We have the rutile here, which I suppose we can move this away. And then we have silver, zinc, and alumina, of course. Put these over here. Now I changed how I was doing the frames. Initially I had put them around the outside. Now you can see that they are inside of the block, so they partially cover the ore block, the outer edge. But initially I'd put them on the outside so that you could see the entire ore block. But I quickly found out that I wasn't able to put the signs underneath them, and I would have to put them here, which I briefly considered going with that. But then, because I'd already pretty much done all of the frames, but then I realized that it looked stupid, and I wanted the signs directly underneath each of the ore blocks. I had to redo all of the frames, basically, which was not ideal, but it turned out better in the end. Now I wanted to do something with the caster program. We're going back here to get some food because I'm getting close to running out. And then we are just going to go back because there's nothing to do here right now. But yeah, I wanted to do something to the caster program. I want to add a feature, and we're going to have a look at that right about now. So the remainder of this episode is going to be programming. So if you don't want to see that, you can stop watching now. So when you make a request, what I want to do is I want to, if the program is, when you started it the first time, it's going to look pretty much like this. But when it has looped back to this choose item menu, I guess really I want to add two things. I want there to be another option. We'll probably call it A, which will stand for again. And it's basically going to repeat the last request exactly as it was made. So you can see here that last I made 4 iron nuggets because I needed more of these cables. So I needed some iron nuggets to make those. Got some free redstone there. And basically the choosing again would make 4 more iron nuggets, which I realized I made 4 iron nuggets. I made crafted 4 of these cables, and that was enough. So I needed another batch. So I needed another 4 nuggets, and then I had to choose item 1, choose the material iron, and then specify 4, and go through all 3 of those steps again, even though I had basically already specified what I wanted in the previous cycle or in the previous request. So if I could have just chosen to repeat the previous request, it would have been slightly faster. So we're going to add that feature. The other feature, I think, which is going to be another shortcut, sort of, which might speed up some requests a little bit. It's basically going to be, if I know I want iron nuggets, but I don't want 4 of them, I want 6 for some reason. Instead of, I can't repeat the last request because I would get 4 and I want 2 more, but I also don't want to go through the selection process. I want to do it in one step because I know exactly what I want. It's a slightly more advanced option. What I want to add is the ability to go, so nugget is 1, let's say iron is 2, and then I want 6 of them. So I would specify that separated by semicolons or maybe commas, And that would, instead of having to go through the steps one by one, I would just specify all of them in the beginning here. And that would give me what I wanted. So if we could add those two features, that would be rather lovely. So we're going to, I'm going to briefly blank the screen while I rearrange some stuff. And we're going to go to the shoot. I have messed this up a little bit. Hold on. We're going to redo some stuff here. I'm going to go like that. Hide that. Right. And we're going to go to IntelliJ. Yeah. And here we have the original caster program, pretty much the one I'm using on the server currently. There is one difference though. So what I'm going to do, I don't quite remember what exactly I changed. I know which line it was on. Right. So it was on line 110. So I discovered when I was going to make some gold nuggets that I don't check these if the sides are valid. So I quickly edited the program directly on the server to fix that issue, to figure out what was going wrong. And what I did was, if not sides mat input side, then error invalid input side mat input side, like that, and then if not side mat output side, then error invalid output side mat output side, there, end. So what I'd done was I misspelled the side for gold, and maybe that, no, those are not in there. I don't remember what it said, but it didn't say what it was supposed to. It was not a valid side at all. Put a typo in there. And then when it got here and tried to use that as a side, it passed a needle to transfer fluid, and it crashed the program. But by adding this, it will check that the side specified in the materials file is actually a valid side, so that the return from the sides table is not nil. If it is nil, it will stop the program, basically force a crash using the error function, and say invalid input side, and then print out the side. So that you can see what it is that is causing the issue. And I'm also going to do this. Which is what I did, and that allowed me to see that I misspelled it. So we are running out of time, but what I want to do is, in the first step, which is here, choose item. I'm going to start the program back up so I can tell. Yeah, choose item is the first step. So we're going to want to put in some logic here. If it's not equal to C, which is cancel. I think we want to do if input equals, and then we either want A for again or R for repeat. I think repeat sounds a little better. So of course, personal preference, but still. So, and then we'll put in else if there instead. So if you specify R, although we are going to want to add a local variable on the top level of the program called last command or last request, which sounds a little odd, I guess. But we also want to, I guess, initialize that as nil. So we are up here. So if last request and, so if last request is nil, it's going to skip this and go into this instead. Kind of a weird way to do this, isn't it? I mean, I guess what I really want is if input is equal to C plus new line, then nothing else do the other stuff with the normal, because then I can add additional commands if I want to. And we want if last request, then print R for repeat. So if the last request is set, then we're going to show that as an option in the list. And then what we want to do is, in the normal handling, this is a little tricky. Oh, I guess they're already declared as, or initialized as nil. You don't need to do that explicitly. We have run out of time, unfortunately. So I'm going to end the episode here, and then we're going to pick back up in the next one and continue with this work on the casting program, and I'll explain what I'm going to do then. So with that, I will see you in the next video.